In the summer of 1518, in the bustling city of Strasbourg, something utterly bizarre unfolded. Something so strange that historians are still debating it more than 500 years later. This wasn't a war, nor a political uprising, but rather a mysterious epidemic that became known as the Dancing Plague. And yes, it was exactly what it sounds like, people dancing uncontrollably in the streets, day and night, until many of them collapsed and some even did. It all began in July of that year, when a woman named Frau Trophea stepped into the streets and began to dance. At first, the locals assumed she was simply celebrating or perhaps mocking the church, but as the hours passed, it became clear that something was wrong. She could not stop. She danced through the day, into the night, and then into the next day. By the end of the week, dozens of others had joined her, their feet pounding the cobblestone streets without music, without joy, and without rest. Within a month, the number of dancers had grown to more than 4. Imagine the scene. Streets filled with men, women, and children, flailing their arms, twisting and stomping endlessly. Some screamed in pain as their bodies gave out, yet their movements continued as if they were possessed. Historical records even suggest that several dancers died from exhaustion, strokes, or heart attacks. City leaders were alarmed but had no idea how to respond. Doctors of the time ruled out supernatural causes, insisting this was a natural disease of the blood. Their solution? More dancing. Authorities even hired musicians and built a stage, believing that the only cure was to let the afflicted dance the sickness out of their systems. Instead of helping, this only made the situation worse. The dancing spread faster, and the people of Strasbourg found themselves in the grip of what seemed like mass madness. So, what exactly caused the dancing plague of 1518? Historians still don't have a definitive answer, but there are 3 major theories. The first theory is mass hysteria. Strasbourg at the time was under immense stress. The city was suffering from famine, disease, and poverty. Many citizens were deeply religious and believed in divine punishment. Under such pressure, it's possible that people experienced a form of collective stress-induced psychosis, their minds and bodies expressing despair through uncontrollable movement. The second theory blames ergot poisoning. Rye bread, a staple food of the time, was often contaminated with a toxic mold called ergot. This fungus contains chemicals similar to LSD, which can cause hallucinations, convulsions, and strange behavior. It's possible that an outbreak of ergot poisoning triggered the bizarre epidemic. The third theory looks at religious fervor. Some believe the dancers were followers of a cult or were overtaken by rituals dedicated to Saint Vitus, the patron saint often associated with dancing. In medieval Europe, outbreaks of dancing mania were sometimes attributed to curses or divine wrath, and people believed that dancing until collapse could appease the saints. While no single explanation fully solves the mystery, the dancing plague eventually burned itself out after several weeks. Those who survived slowly regained control of their bodies, and the strange epidemic faded into history. But the questions remain. Why did it happen? Could it happen again? And what does this strange chapter in history tell us about the human mind and the power of belief? The dancing plague is more than just a bizarre story. It's a reminder of how vulnerable people can be to fearful stress and suggestion. In moments of crisis, entire communities can be swept into collective behaviors that defy logic. Today, we might not see people dancing to death in the streets, but modern society has its own versions of mass hysteria, from viral social media frenzies to sudden moral panics that grip entire nations. The story of Strasbourg in 1518 continues to fascinate because it straddles the line between science, psychology, and the supernatural. Was it a disease, a drug-induced frenzy, or a desperate attempt by ordinary people to cope with extraordinary suffering? Whatever the cause, The dancing plague remains one of history's strangest unsolved mysteries. A vault of secrets from a time when the human body became both prisoner and performer in a dance no one could control. So the next time you hear a song you can't get out of your head, or you find yourself tapping your foot uncontrollably, remember Strasbourg in 1518 and be grateful that your dance is one of joy, not doom.